Hi, and welcome to Run Tall with Tim, the YouTube channel that's dedicated to all of you, our global running community. I'm Tim, and I upload new videos every week that are all about running. Today, I'm sharing a shoe from Altra with you. It's their Escalante 2.5. Now, for those of you already familiar with Altra shoes, you know that they're known for basically two things. One is having that zero drop or balanced cushioning in their midsole, and the other is to have that foot-shaped toe box. So we're going to talk about those things and a whole lot more. Oh, before we get to that, if you want to skip around to the parts of the video that are of most interest to you to save yourself a little time, I did try to make that as easy for you as possible. All you have to do is open the description, and there you're going to see chapters. Just click on the timestamp for the part of the video that you want to watch, and it's going to take you right there. First, I put together a run demo for you, so let's take a look at that. Once we watch that, we're going to come back and we're going to talk a lot more about the Escalante 2.5.
Check the mic and make sure it sound right, boys. It sound right, boys.
Now, Altra is one of those companies that I have a lot of admiration for and respect. It's a relatively new company in the shoe market industry. It's only been around about 10 years, and I love their origin story. So Golden, if you're not familiar with this, I encourage you, maybe take the time to look it up because I just found it so interesting. So, Golden, one of the founders of Altra shoes, he started playing around with the idea of a zero drop midsole in 2009. And in order to create some of the first prototypes of the shoe, he actually used a toaster oven to heat that midsole material. And I just found that to be fascinating and how creative, I could be in the room with all of my running shoes you see behind me and a toaster oven for a lifetime and never think once to put my shoe in the toaster oven to try to alter it in a way that might be more beneficial for runners. So kudos to Golden and his creativity, and how fantastic for Altra to see all of the success that they have seen just in the last 10 years. So with the Escalante, that was one of their biggest releases or biggest shoe debuts, and it's still a fan favorite of Altra runners. And, after having spent some time in them today, I ran in them this morning, I can see why. There's a lot to love about the Altra balanced cushion shoe. Now, this one came out in August, so, August 2020, so it's a relatively new shoe to the market, or an update. Although I think the updates were relatively minor from the 2.0, mostly having to do with the upper. And it cost $130. Now, I was lucky enough just recently to find it on sale for about $100, I think is what it cost me. So I got a pretty decent deal on it. Now, the stated weight for the Escalante 2.5 on their website is 8.5 ounces or 241 grams. I put it on my scales, and for a men's size 9, they came in a little heavier than that at 8.7 ounces, but we're right in the ballpark. Overall, I would say, that's a really decent weight for a daily trainer, and that's where I'd put this shoe. I think that falls best in that category. But anything under 10 ounces for me in a men's size 9 for a daily trainer, that's a pretty decent weight to train in. Now let's turn and we'll take a look at the upper. Now, as I zoom in and pan around the shoe, the first thing you notice from that above shot is that it is a foot-shaped toe box, and that is lots of room up there for your toes to splay when you run. And that's a nice feeling to have. You don't have to worry about, feeling crowded or having, your pinky toe get curled under, or some of the other issues that you can have in tighter fitting shoes in that area. And it's an engineered knit upper. I wouldn't say that it's highly breathable. It was about in the mid-20s outside today's, and so I'm talking like 25 degrees Fahrenheit, so a bit cool, so well below freezing. And my feet did not get cold at all, and I didn't feel any cool rush of air through that toe box at all. So I don't know what it's like to run in this shoe in hot weather, like in August when it was first released, but I can tell you in terms of cooler temperatures, it's very comfortable underfoot. I'm going to have to wait and see with some more testing as I run in the shoe, some additional mileage, and maybe even on some warmer days, how that feels underfoot when you're out in hotter weather. But as we move around, you can see that there's really not a whole lot in terms of overlays. They do have their logo sprawled across that midsection of the shoe, all the way around to the heel counter. So now let's take a look at that eyelet chain. And, they've got reinforced eyelets here in a manner that I would say is I don't know if you'd call it quilted, but you can see that they have that extra threaded material around the eyelets to give it some extra durability. And then on the inside of the cage, they've got some, like a plastic overlay there as well, again, to give it a little bit of extra strength and stability in those eyelets. The one thing that you may notice as I panned around those eyelets is that there isn't an extra eyelet for a runner's knot. So again, if you're a fan of the runner's knot, you're not going to be able to use that in this shoe. I didn't find it to be an issue, but then again, I don't use a runner knot typically unless I'm trying to use up some laces like in the Hoka Carbon or the Hoka Rocket X. Or other shoes that might have considerably longer laces than what I might necessarily need. So now let's look at the tongue of the shoe. It has that knit material, so basically the same material that they use on that upper. It feels the same, which is a bit stretchy, and that upper does feel a little bit stretchy. There's not a whole lot going on there, but they don't need much. It's really wide, so it's set flat across my midfoot, so that was comfortable. I didn't have any issues there. It's fairly thin tongue, but just why I'm thinking of it, that the material is stretchy, as I mentioned just a second ago, and when you're trying to get that lockdown feeling across your midfoot, I didn't feel like I could get a solid locked-in feeling across that area, so it did feel a little bit loose, I guess. It didn't cause me any issues when I was running in it, but if you like to feel like you're really snug down, you might not get that with this particular upper. Doesn't mean it isn't comfortable. It is. It's just it feels a little bit more loose. Now they describe it on their website as sock-like, and I would say that's kind of what it feels like. It's like sock-like feeling when you slide your foot into the shoe. Very comfortable, just not very locked down. Now, it does have a removable insole, and if you've seen some of my shoe reviews in the past, you know how much I appreciate that. Just because, they do get dirty, they get wet, there's all kinds of things that happen where it's just so nice to be able to pull them out, clean them up, and let them dry out before putting them back in. And this one is pretty plush. It's thick. You can see how thick that material is, and it has some structure to it. So, it just adds to the comfort of your run experience in the Escalante. Okay, so now let's look at the padding around the heel collar and tab. Lots of padding here. You know, it's especially for a shoe that comes in, 8.7 ounces on my scales. They've got a good deal of padding, so you've got some comfort built in. I didn't have any issues there. Very comfortable when I was running. And we'll turn now and we'll look at the counter of the shoe. A bit of structure there, but not overly done. They don't have any big, heavy plastic overlays. There's just a little bit of structure, enough to create a sense of stability in the shoe. And for someone that overpronates, and I mention this a lot, that's one of the areas I do look at. But even bigger for me, or a bigger concern for me when it comes to overpronation or pronation issues, is the midsole. And so let's talk about the midsole material, because it did fine for me. I didn't have any issues with overpronation on the midsole. They use their Ego material, is what they refer to it as. And as I mentioned, they're known for having a balanced cushioning. That means that, in the heel, it's the same stack height as there is in the forefoot. In this case, it's 24 millimeters. And it's a pretty stout or firm feeling underfoot. So I would say it's moderate cushioning. So, this is not a plush or highly cushioned shoe. So if that's what you're looking for, this isn't the right shoe for you. There's a lot of other ones out on the market, like the Saucony Triumph 18 or even the Clifton 7. Some of those shoes are a much softer feeling underfoot than this one is. I would liken it to the Saucony Ride 13 in terms of how stiff the midsole material is. But it's also responsive. One of the things that I noticed, and I'm used to running in shoes that have, at least a 5 millimeter offset from the heel to the toe. So I did feel with that balanced offset, or balanced no offset, or zero drop, like my heel was setting lower than my forefoot. And I know that that's just all in my brain, because, I've been accustomed to running in shoes that have much higher offsets, or much taller in the heel. So let's flip them over and we'll take a look at the outsole. And they call this, they have a name, they call it the foot pod outsole. And that's because the way that they've mimicked your mechanics of your foot. So you can see where the metatarsal in tendons and things of that nature, they've got that rubber in the places that would complement your foot flex based on your foot mechanics. And you do feel that when I was out running, they've got their inner flex that is a part of that midsole material that again is those grooves that you see now to give it the ability to flex more in sync with your natural rhythm of your foot. And when I was running, that's one of the things I did notice is that it seemed to really contour to the way that my foot would naturally be striking the ground. And so that was really comfortable. And it made my gait cycle feel pretty comfortable. And because it's that balanced cushioning, I felt like the shoe was encouraging me to run more in my midfoot, or strike the ground more with my midfoot up through my forefoot. And as a result, anytime that you do that, I feel like you can pick up a little bit of speed, because, there's less of that ground contact. So, from that respect, I found it to be a very fun shoe to run in. And the faster that I ran in the shoe, and today was an easy run, so my average pace was like around 8-10 minute mile, something like that, 8-7 minute mile, somewhere along those lines. But when I did pick up the pace, I felt like I could really pick up the pace if I wanted to. So I would say a daily trainer that might be maybe an up-tempo daily trainer even, that you could use this for. Hey, I enjoyed making this video for you guys. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, maybe give it a thumbs up. As always, run tall, run strong, be kind to one another. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.